Perhaps there was a time when the land acknowledgement ritual known as Welcome to Country was truly about welcoming people to the land. Over time, it somewhat morphed into a platform to educate people about Indigenous issues, I suppose. But even more recently, it's often been used as a way of lecturing people about racial politics, paradoxically making listeners feel not very welcome. Not for white people, the headlines read. It's essentially become mandatory at most public events. Failure to arrange a welcome to country will land you in hot water. In August, preacher taken to Human Rights Commission after refusing to perform Welcome to Country. At one of his conferences, Christian minister Dave Pallow, in place of the land acknowledgement, read out a Bible verse instead. The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world and all who live in it, for he founded it on the seas and established it on the waters. In September, lawyer accused of racism for refusing Welcome to Country. At a recent Victorian Bar Council meeting, barrister Lana Kolaris forwent the traditional land acknowledgement and instead acknowledged all Australians, and then posted the minutes of the meeting on social media. She was promptly told she had brought the Victorian Bar into disrepute and was called a racist, a visitor, and an introduced species. In response, she said, "I'd had enough of this implicit ceding of sovereignty before every meeting, before every Zoom meeting, before every time we land on a Qantas flight. I'd had enough and just wanted to take a stand against it. It's the constant repetition of this message that sovereignty does not exist within the Crown. That's what I've got an issue with. It's wrong in law and it's wrong in fact as well." Lawyers accused of racism, preachers taken to the Human Rights Commission. See, that's how you make people feel welcome, by threatening them. You better feel welcome, or else. But a surprising group of people are calling for the Welcome to Country to be banned. An Aboriginal group, actually. Enough is enough. Juru Elders pass motion to ban Welcome to Country. The Juru people's traditional lands are located in the Burdekin region of North Queensland, between Townsville and Bowen. Juru Elder and Chair of that meeting, where elders gathered to discuss the Welcome to Country, Randal Ross, commented, "Many of our elders feel that the Welcome to Country in our particular area was well and truly being abused. Enough is enough. We want to put a stop to it. We want to put a ban throughout our region to cease Welcome to Country. We've got people coming in who are not even blood connected to the country and performing these ceremonies only because they're preferred suppliers by government agencies. Elders have said, no, you are destroying our protocol. It's well and truly got out of hand. The elders have agreed they're happy for people to do Acknowledgement of Country as long as there's no monetary or gifts as part of the process. There's been a lot of lost sight on what it's all about, and it's become monetary and sometimes business-oriented. It's sad to see and very sorry that our cultural protocol is being used like that." Mayor of the region, Purina Dale Court, welcomed the decision, saying, "I can't get into a political nightmare here, but all I can say is I'm happy to work with the traditional owners. We had the yes and no vote, and that vote should have been listened to. We're multicultural, we're one country, and we've all got to learn to live and work together. It'll probably be an early Christmas present to a lot of people. I've already had some responses from people saying things like, 'Finally, common sense has prevailed.' Of course, sometimes common sense gets thrown out the window, as we saw at last month's COP29 climate conference. Complete farce. Australian delegate performs Acknowledgement of Country at COP29 in Azerbaijan. Our public delegates are so fearful of not offending anybody that they can't seem to muster the courage to not perform this mindless ritual even when over 11,000 kilometres away. She said, "Whilst we're not on Australian lands, I'd still like to start with acknowledging the traditional owners of Australia." Idiot. That's all I've got to say. If a North Korean representative acknowledges his supreme leader, we might be a little more forgiving, because we know he's under duress. What's this lady's excuse? And finally, we know that current Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, when he was elected a couple of years ago, decided in his infinite wisdom that instead of only displaying a single flag, the Australian national flag, he thought it a good idea to display 3 flags, including both the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander ones. At least he didn't go as far as Greens leader Adam Bandt, who intentionally had the Australian flag removed from a press conference because it represents violence, pain and dispossession. The irony is not lost on me watching a white man standing in front of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander flags dictating to us that a piece of cloth is harmful to Indigenous Australians and should be erased from history. It seems like Mr. Bandt would much rather stand in front of the Palestinian flag or the rainbow flag instead of the Australian one. But Leader of the Opposition Peter Dutton has basically said enough is enough. With SBS reporting just today, Peter Dutton says he'll never stand in front of an Aboriginal flag as Prime Minister. He said, "I'm very strongly of the belief that we are a country united under one flag, and if we're asking people to identify with different flags, no other country does that, and we are dividing our country unnecessarily. We should have respect for the Indigenous flag and the Torres Strait Islander flag, but they are not our national flags. We are united as a country when we gather under one flag, which is what we should do on Australia Day." In closing, Welcome to Country ceremonies have been banned, at least in one part of the country, due to people ignoring the original intention and trying to profit from it. So much so that even an Aboriginal group have said enough is enough.